delete files just in case hindi mag-full. Yun, para sigurado.
Oh yeah.
Alright. Buya ka siya.
Recording in
Alright!
progress.
Alright! Buya ka siya! Welcome back to the latest episode ng medyo newish RNC. Yan, medyo mukhang magandang mga responses sa atin. Kristan, thank you very much, brother, for making this happen again.
Of course, man. I'm always looking forward to having long discussions with you na may mga nuances at maraming mga usapan. And also, kahit na hindi tayo magkatugma sa mga opinion natin, that's actually a good thing as well. I always believe pushback and different opinions make for stronger arguments.
Oo naman, bro. Ako pa. How dare you say we disagree? I am a big fan of all of those Bitcoin dictators. No, I'm just kidding. Ayan na, nagsimula na. Nag-shade na kaagad. Serving the tea, brother. Okay. Okay, ang dami natin pag-usapan. So, as you can see in my Michael Jackson thriller. Marami tayong mga pag-usapan ngayon. Dami. So, let's talk about, of course, later on, BBM administration. I think ang daming nagbabash sa atin. Bakit puro tayong Duterte content? Oh, sige. Don't worry. Pag-usapan natin ng BBM administration. Some issues raised. May mga expletive, sabi ni Chelo Magno, di ba? Nakaka-expletive daw yung mga nakikita nilang irregularities or alleged irregularities sa budget, mga ganun. Pati si Ann Curtis yata nag-comment na rin sa pag-usapan natin yan. And then obviously we have to go back to Duterte last week, everything that happened. Obviously, we were supposed to have this conversation earlier, but sabi ko nga medyo Holy Weekend also. Maybe better we get the ball rolling this week. But this week is big, brother, because... Bakit Big Brother? This week is
Sorry, naghang yung
Yun nga eh.
audio ko.
Okay,
Could you repeat that, please?
This week is big because obviously we have the US elections, diba? Ikaw bro, what are your general thoughts
Yes.
about the US elections? Bago tayo, let's break it down.
Yeah, unang-una kasi ako on X mismo, I actually see a lot more Trump posts rather than Kamala posts. And there's a lot of Kamala bashing I see on X, and I think that's because of Elon Musk. Did he do that on purpose or not? Hindi ko alam Pero what I'm getting a sense of is that I don't know why I actually think Kamala will win. Mind
Yeah.
you, when I say that, I'm very indifferent towards the US election. Whoever wins, I don't really care because I actually don't like both candidates. I think both candidates are terrible. One is, so if I were to describe, one is crazy, the other one is, actually they're both kind of crazy. The one is weird, the other one's crazy. That's how I view it, to be honest with you. And I may not be politically correct when I say that, pero having said that, I actually think Kamala's going to win this one. I know that there are polling showing that Trump is ahead on certain polls, and then on certain polls naman, Kamala looks like she's ahead. It's neck to neck, but I think for some reason, I don't know why I believe the Democrats will pull this. Now, I'm going to give you guys also one insight that I noticed. Trump is already saying na pag matatalo siya dito, hindi na daw siya tatakbo ulit. At sinabi din niya, recently lang, I think it was just today, na pag matalo siya, aalis daw siya ng United States. Why would a presidential candidate say that? Unless meron siyang internal polling that he's seeing that's making him make these statements. And Trump is a very transparent person in that sense na nasasabi niya itong mga to without much thought into it. But if you read between those lines, I think there's something that he's seeing which is causing him to say those statements. What do you think?
Yeah, interesting. I mean, obviously, for me, if there's one thing that we can predict about this election is that it's going to be the most contentious, likely very ugly, and probably it's gonna be dragging on for quite some time because base sa alam natin, there will be a lot of contestation on the ground. There are a lot of MAGA folks who will be certifying or not certifying the result of elections in some of the swing states, particularly in counties in Pennsylvania, in Arizona. So when I look at those facts on the ground, literally facts on the very, very ground, I won't be surprised there'll be a lot of mumbo jumbo or a lot of pushback and delays and litigation. So no wonder Kamala Harris has assembled a 1,000 strong legal army, not to mention the other side has its own Giuliani and all of that. So that's one thing I can be sure about because, bro, one thing I can say is since 2016, practically all polls are broken. It keeps on getting worse every year. And based on one analysis I saw, a meta-analysis I saw, there are a couple of reasons to explain that. One daw is because marami sa mga voters ay hindi na komportable na aminin sino talagang bobotohin nila. Kasi sabi mo nga, both candidates ay medyo hindi ganun ka nakaka-proud, di ba? To be honest about it. Although I'll not draw a moral equivalence between Kamala and Trump. One is a convicted felon, one is like, one is like funny. Like, I'll just put it that way. But the other one is nagkakaroon din ng distrust towards polling agencies. So hindi lang sa mainstream media, but yung mga polling agencies daw nagkakaroon ng distrust. So maraming mga voters ay hindi sinasabi yung totoo, yung talagang feelings nila. So there are a number of factors we're seeing there that is contributing to the degradation of yung accuracy ng mga polls. So I won't put too much stock into it, but you're absolutely right. If you look at the Seltzer poll in Iowa and some of the other interesting ones I'm looking at, it looks like there could be some last-minute rally. But let me ask you this, bro. Sa tingin mo ba may kinalaman din nito dun sa Puerto Rico comments ni Kill Tony? Do you think Kill Tony Trump's momentum? Nakita mo yan? That was crazy.
Sorry, Kill Tony? Who are you referring to?
Si Tony, Hitchcliff, yung comedian dun sa yung host ng the one who said na garbage daw yung Puerto Rico. Remember that there was this comedian, kasi it was so bad. I mean, there were a couple of comedians, but that was the worst. And may na-interview sila mga couple of Puerto Ricans who said they were leaning towards Trump kasi Catholic, conservative values, all of those kinds of argument. But now, na-insulto na sila. So, kaya ang dami nag-comments sa Twitter yung mga liberals. Oh, wow! So, okay ka lang na ininsulto ni Trump lahat ng mga minorities except when they specified Puerto Ricans. Suddenly, now you don't like Trump. So, I mean, it just shows you what world we're living in, no? Ikaw, do you think na... What do you attribute itong last-minute rally in favor of Kamala? You think women, you think minorities are realizing, wait, bro, medyo, are you sure you want another Trump?
So I think what's happening right now kasi is although there was a alam mo back and forth yan di ba? Nung at the start when Trump was against Biden, Trump was leading on that race and then suddenly nung Trump got shot in the ear, then Kamala, di ba, announced that she was running and then boom, Kamala goes up in the ratings and Kamala was ahead and then pagkatapos nun, back and forth yan. So pagkatapos nun, then Trump gets a shot in the ear and then his ratings shoot up along with it. And then Kamala starts to push through all the battleground states and getting all the endorsements that she needed. And then now she's coming up in the polls. And then parang nabawasan yung steam niya towards the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
But for this week, it started to go up again. And my take on this is that I think people are starting to realize na, wait, you have a guy who actually, arguably is very responsible for what happened in January 6. The so-called insurrection, but debatable or not. And not only that, you've seen what he can do from his previous term and what he cannot do. And the promises he's made and the promises he's never going to commit to. So I think when people realize that the possibility of Trump actually winning, may mga tingong bumalik na and said, maybe I really don't want him to be the president after all. I think that's where really the difference is. Plus, a lot of the celebrity endorsements are coming in now. Over the last few days, I mean, if you saw the Avengers assemble, that was kind of hilarious actually. Pag makita mo yung kasi sinabi pa nga ng Avengers, medyo sablay yung tagline nila. Sabi nila, Kamala Harris, down with democracy. Yeah. Parang mali ata yung dating nun. No, so they corrected it. Kamala Harris.
The list I saw is the Puff Daddy list.
All right. So
oh my goodness. Tapos naglabas ng Epstein list din yung kabila. So it's like, this is bad.
Yun ang interesting dito nga with that list. Kasi nga sa Epstein naman talaga, if you think about it, Trump is the one close to Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah.
It was always Trump that was close to Epstein. Pero for some reason, they don't connect that with Jeffrey Epstein. They just assume it was all the Democrats. It's Bill Clinton, which is true naman. Bill is also close to the Epsteins and a lot of political figures are. Yeah. Pero ngayon wala na nga mga lalaki, si Kamala na, wala sila mabato, di ba? Kaya ngayon ginagawa nila yung PDD connection na lang with Jennifer Lopez endorsement, si Cardi B. And in the Philippines, I don't know if you know this, we have Filipino celebrities that are going to be part of the election. Tomorrow, I think they're gonna be there. Tony Gonzaga is supporting.
What is that Tony Gonzaga endorsement? What the heck?
Do you know who she's endorsing?
Trump! Sabi niya Trump! Sabi ko, wait, what? Anong pakin niya?
Yeah. Tapos merong isa pang big Filipino celebrity that's endorsing Kamala. I forget who it was eh. I tried to look for
Hindi
it. I
naman
couldn't
Lea
find it
Salonga
again.
type, mga ganyan. Hindi naman.
No, not Lea Salonga type. Younger, sikat na celebrity ngayon. So I'm not quite sure who eh. Now, by the way, Richard, I want to add na may mga nagko-comment kasi that why would I make a statement na weird daw si Kamala and not say why. And they didn't think it was fair that I would label her like that, or even Trump, why I would label them without justifying my reason for labeling them. So I'd love to be able to give
Please.
the audience lang a chance to be able
Please.
to understand the psyche that I have and why I said Kamala is weird. Alam mo kasi si Kamala Harris, pag makita mo siya magsalita, she cackles a lot. A little bit uncontrollably, yung cackle niya when she laughs. It's a little bit strange. It's almost like a tick that she
wine
has.
mom daw, sabi ng comedians. Para siyang wine mom. Yung parating
Wine
cheerful.
mom, yeah. And ito pa, there were a couple of times that I'm not sure if she was drunk or not. Parang she was actually drunk. And plus, masasabi ko lang, and I'm not saying she's a bad person, okay? I'm saying lang that there was something really weird about her. And I think lang, being somebody at her age, I think she's around 40 something.
Hindi, 50s na siya, bro. 50s na siya.
Is she 50?
Mid to late
Okay.
50s, yeah.
I don't know if she's late 50s. Okay, anyway. But my perspective with Kamala kasi is that parang this is I'm not sure if she's going to be able to, I mean, she will eventually have to handle being a president when that happens. But I think a lot of her decisions are skewed towards an ego-based decision at times. And I think that's where the problem will lie. But the good thing is, good and bad though, the Democrats, I honestly think, have a lot of people that are controlling behind the scenes of Kamala.
You mean good people or not so good people?
Both. I mean,
Ah.
the Democrats' machinery is so well oiled and well polished that there's a lot of people controlling
Right.
the behind the scenes with Kamala. I believe that. And it could be Biden, could be Obama, and could be a lot of other people. Versus Trump, who's pretty much the one in control. That's also not a good thing because
Yeah.
with Trump, sometimes he doesn't listen to the advisors. Even if they give good advice. Although I do believe that Trump now is a little bit of a tamer Trump than he was back in 2016. Was it 2016?
How could you say that? Because J.D. Vance is crazier than you? Like,
No, not about
because he's
JD Vance.
older and is a bit more tired. I mean, like, how would you say that?
Yeah. Actually, the age and when he realized he made some mistakes. If you listen to his interview with Joe Rogan, he actually admitted that I could have done something better. I should have listened with some of the things. I could have done this. So nakikita mo that he's a little bit more introspective in that sense. And the fact that he has an Elon Musk and other luminaries that are giving him information that are very hard-headed as well, that will give their opinion to Trump, and Trump will listen to them. So in that sense, I think mas kumalma na. But I still think he's crazy. And I don't like the authoritarian tendencies that can affect the Philippines and the entire world. So yun lang. So parang ang
Yeah.
choice mo ngayon, status quo with Kamala Harris or radical change with Trump. And Trump promised so many things, Inflation. He said he's going to pull it down. He says he's going to stop the war in one day. He said, ang dami niya sinabi that, oh, come on. He made these promises to you back then. He never fulfilled any of the promises. So, yun lang.
Ako, slightly diverge. First, I want to strong woman a bit yung position ni Kamala because ang basa ko dito is, remember Kamala's background, she was a prosecutor, right? And in the era of Black Lives Matter, in an era where a lot of African American men are more attracted to Trump and Republicanism and quite put off by the direction or identity policies of Democratic Party, sa tingin ko, she had to re-engineer herself para hindi lumabas yung prosecutor side niya. And then, of course, she was under a very old president. So she had to also make sure she's not overshadowing Biden. Because
Right.
precisely so feeling ko ang nangyari dyan is because she had to do that double re-engineering, it kind of prevented her from being fully herself. So I won't be surprised if she becomes president later this week, and by next year she takes over, I think we'll see a much more feisty prosecutor, self-confident version of her. Kasi to be honest, I think she still doesn't have that full confidence yet. Dahil she never won a
Ah,
primary. She never won a primary, right? Neither when she ran
yep.
back in 2020 nor now. Essentially, she inherited the position. So I think there is, I don't want to use the word insecurity, but I think her self-confidence to be fully herself is not there yet. And I think the fact that she knows, unfortunately, there's sexism, misogyny, yes, racism. She had to be very careful. But my sense is we might see a much more feisty and self-confident version of her once she comes into power next year. If she wins this year, and I won't be surprised if she wins, and then Trump's challenges that things go crazy. You might see a more prosecutor side of her. Not to mention Biden coming out and calling people garbage. It's like, you garbage people, you're gonna accept this result. It's like, no, 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 tito, okay lang, pahinga ko muna, di ba? Now going,
Pero alam mo,
yeah, yeah. So
alam mo,
that's
ano,
my take on Kamala. But on Trump, I more or less agree with you. Ang akin lang kasi, honestly, I don't know kasi it depends what you're listening to. I am more amenable. Like, if you compare him to what JD Vance and some of these podcast bros are saying, he looks like the nice old man. In fact, if you look at Trump, his interview with Lex Friedman, with Joe Rogan, he was very consciously tempered and all. And that shows you he has political acumen, right? He's not actually just Methodist madness all the time. He's very subdued. He knows when to switch off the showman and be more like podcast bro also. But ang tingin ko kasi, bro, if you really follow yung tone ng speeches niya and his choice of J.D. Vance rather than a more moderate Republican option, I think he's actually gonna be a more extreme version. In fact, going back to what Joe Rogan
oh,
said, yeah, I think, remember, he's calling people scum. He's openly threatening to put Nancy Pelosi and Schiffer and a bunch of people who impeached him into jail. And you know that when he was in power in the first term, he threatened Kerry, sorry, and a couple of people who were critical
yes.
of him. So, and importantly, ito yung sinabi niya sa, kaya nga sabi ko, let's not be fooled by his, yung tone niya. Kasi he's very good in showing a much more subdued, Lolo
Right.
version of him. But actually, if you look at what he's saying, during the first term, I didn't know what I was doing. And I brought in a couple of people who were not loyal to me. In fact, 32 members of his cabinet, they all endorsed Kamala or went against him. In fact, John Kelly, the former chief of staff and
Right.
four-star general, called him a fascist. So he said this time he'll bring in essentially people he can trust, meaning loyalists. So more MAGA, more extreme. So you're right.
And
Maybe temper-wise, maybe So you have to be careful. Be careful what you wish for. Nevertheless, I'll tell you what. Before I pass this back to you, bro, I do not judge people who vote for Trump as necessarily voting for Trump per se. A lot of them vote for Trump for many reasons because they're unhappy with the Democratic option. They like that there's a lot of Catholic values emphasis in the Republican Party. They like a lot of emphasis on family values, and of course, there are a lot of people who have strong views on abortion, on divorce. So I think it's unfair to say, oh, if you vote for Trump, you're for fascism. There medyo disagree ako. And a lot of us have family members, relatives in the US who are Republican and are great people. It's not like they're okay with everything Trump says. But they're not also happy with where the Democratic Party is going. And actually, based on the studies, in Nevada, shout out John Kilatita, in Nevada, the Filipinos could be the swing vote and decide where Nevada will go. Because historically, Nevada was more democratic in the past few elections. But this race is getting very, very close, and Trump might carry Nevada thanks to the Philippine American community. So, those are the factors I'm using. But I agree with you. On the international level, oh my God, mahabang usapan yan. Trump is a wild, wild card. He could turn out as the defining guy cutting deals with North Korea and Iran and Russia for peace, but he also could embolden a lot of these extreme superpower, authoritarian guys, Putin, Xi Jinping,
yep.
whatever, to do something crazy. So it's a big, big gamble. But I don't want to judge people who support Trump. I met a lot of people in the U.S. who were Nick Haley, who were DeSantis, Georgia, South Carolina, a lot. But now, wala na silang choice. So Trump na is the Republican candidate and they're not convinced by Kamala. So I'm not going to demonize them. So I think we have to be very careful not to, paint a broad brushstrokes and demonize all of the people who vote for Trump. The same way I tell relatives and friends who are Republican, hey, like, don't judge everyone who's gonna vote Democrat as, like, pro everything that you find wrong in the Democratic Party, true or not. So this is the challenge the US is gonna have, this kind of a mutual demonization and further polarization, which is quite scary.
Yeah, I agree with you on this, and I think a lot of people that are voting for Trump as well. There's one more issue that is very close to Americans right now: the immigration issue.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and that's
100%.
that's a big one. And
100%.
honestly, ako mismo, I've seen the problem with a lot of the illegal immigrants going into different parts of the world. Europe has suffered a lot from a lot of the illegal immigration, and the illegal immigrants taking advantage of the system for their own benefit without being productive members of society. So I get that.
Yeah.
I get that if you're a hardworking American and then you see all these immigrants coming in and they're not working and they're siphoning money off the system that could go to you, you're not going to be happy about it. So that's why they support Trump in that sense. But having said that, I know there were also a couple of people that were talking about. Siyempre, depends on what side you're on in the Ukraine-Russia war, right? And some people think that if Trump wins, he's going to stop World War III. And some people think that if Kamala wins, World War III is inevitable. Alam mo, people that think that, you're looking at what ifs. You're thinking of hypotheticals. Honestly, Putin will do what Putin will do. And the world is just reactionary to what he's doing. Yun lang yun. And neither presidential will really be able to stop Putin. And what they can only do is react to whatever Putin's next move is. If Putin escalates this, remember, it's Putin who escalated this, no one else. Yun lang yun. Pero that's why it's scary for me when I see people start to believe in the narrative of Russia and Putin that, oh no, it's the US's fault. It's because it's Biden, or it's because,
NATO
but if it was
expansion.
Trump, it would be different.
But daw, nung sinapak daw ni Will Smith si NATO expansion daw, na-trigger siya sa NATO. Remember, it became a meme na every time something happens, NATO expansion, there were triggers.
Yeah.
I was like,
when you hear somebody speaking with that arguments like that, you realize that people are so easily swayed by narratives and propaganda, because that's propaganda that was actually started by Russia, by Putin, and people
100%.
clung onto that argument and just went with it. So yun yung mga iba't ibang issue, and plus the war, the Hamas issue with Israel. It depends on which side you're on, then you're gonna vote one way or the other. So maraming mga iba't ibang issue. Plus crypto. Alam mo, a lot of the crypto boys are
They're pro-Trump.
One,
They love Trump.
one issue candidate. Like, Trump is supporting crypto. I vote for Trump. May ganon. Pero marami din mga nasa crypto community that are not supporting Trump because of all the other issues.
Yeah.
So again, for me, you're right, and I do not hate or think anyone's a bad person if they vote for Trump or Kamala, because I think this time people are looking at issues rather than the person. Kasi the first time Trump did run, it was the person that they were looking at. Now they're looking at the issues and where they stand, which brings us back to the original version of the democratic process of the US elections, where it's based on issues, which is a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, akin naman, I mean, I'm good with debating on issues as long as you don't create, fake paranoia around immigration. So, people eating cats and dogs, I mean, come on, that was crazy stuff from Trump to say that. That was some would say very racist. And then when J.D. Vance was pushed on that, he essentially admitted, sometimes you have to exaggerate things to highlight an issue. My point is, I find that very scary, because next thing you know, some white supremacist crazy guys are gonna use those narratives. So even if intention in J.D. Vance or Trump is to kind of create some sort of a drama to get the attention of people, that's a dangerous rabbit hole. That's very dangerous, because we know there's racism. We know there's a lot of white supremacy stuff out there. It's dangerous. So I'm a little bit troubled with that kind of rhetoric. Nevertheless, I'm not surprised many of our kababayans or Filipino-American community feel very strongly about the immigration issue, because a lot of them live, let's say, in San Diego. They live in, border areas in Texas, Rio Grande, etc. And they feel threatened. In fact, there are a lot of Mexican-Americans who are also very strong against further immigration because they feel threatened and all of that. Akin lang naman, let's not forget, it was Trump who sabotaged the bipartisan immigration law that was about to be passed. well, kasalanan nila
Yes.
Biden not to ram it through last December. But nevertheless, Trump sabotaged it because he said, if this goes through, the credit will go to Biden. So let's just make sure that. So let's not forget, he was the agent saboteur. So it's unfair to blame it all on the Biden administration. So I agree with our Republican friends, a lot of them, that immigration is an issue. But do not forget, the reason there's no solution is because Trump asked the Republican Party not to do it. If you don't believe me, talk to these Senate leaders, Republican Senate leaders who negotiated that bipartisan deal just to be bullied to pull back at the last minute around February. So if you do your proper research, you'll understand where I'm coming from. I think economy is another big issue, bro. And I think the economy is a big issue in a sense that is relatable to us Filipinos. So, for instance, we see in the surveys, one constituency that Biden has been losing and now Kamala is the younger generation, because inflation has really hurt them a lot. Rent costs are extremely high. Interest rate went from around 2% to 6%. So buying new houses, I have cousins, who said, sana bumili ako ng bahay ng 2019. Ngayon, yung $400,000, it will be $1 million if you put the interest and all of that. So I know a lot of people, relatives, friends in the US, young millennials or whatever, who are saying it's crazy. The real estate market is crazy. The rent situation is crazy. Basic inflation is crazy. And the quality of employment is not there. So while it's true that economic growth in US is the best among major economies, advanced major economies, so not China or India, nevertheless, we have to look at the bottom of the socioeconomic ladder. Maraming kabataan at tsaka mga ordinaryong Amerikano ay nahihirapan talaga dun sa situation yan. So that's but just going back to the immigration, there was one, I don't know if you saw this, bro. There was a Turkish guy who crossed the border around Rio Grande. This was like 6 months ago. So illegally, all right? But anyway, he's Turkish guy, nice guy, right? Naka-backpack, clean look, ganon. And then he crossed. And then there's like Fox News there. And as he crosses the river and comes over, tingin-tingin, he gets the interview. And he said, in Turkish accent, you don't know, horrible people, crazy people out there, who are you allowing to pass through here? You have to build the wall. So immediately sabi ng guy, Turkish guy, 5 seconds across the border, MAGA supporter, right? Like, so, actually, ang dami kong kilala ng mga Pinoy na ganon. Uy, legit kami pumasok, pinaghirapan namin. So, again, at the emotional level, I really understand why there's this anger at the Biden administration, etc. But, don't forget, it was Trump who torpedoed that immigration bill. So, hopefully, whoever becomes the next president, they get this through, they get a proper deal so that legitimate immigration moves forward. I'll tell you what, if Trump wins, most likely there'll be draconian immigration policies. My goodness. A lot of TNT Filipinos mahirapan. A lot of Filipinos in the gray legal area mahirapan. A lot of people applying for immigration mahirapan. Forget about visa. So I hope people are also realistic that the Trump 2.0 administration will be far stricter on immigration.
Yeah.
Far, far stricter. So think about that too, practical level.
Yeah, actually, I was going to add to that, that exactly what you were going to say, what you said, with regards to immigration, it's ironic that a lot of Filipinos, there are Filipinos that support Trump, considering, I'm sure these Filipinos that support Trump know Filipinos that are what we call TNTs.
Yeah.
Maraming TNT pa rin sa states ngayon. They're considered illegal immigrants that are benefiting from this current lenient immigration policy. And I agree that Trump will be very draconian when he does come into power. Also, the other eye that you mentioned was inflation. Alam nyo na when you talk about inflation, this is multi-administrations. This is not just Biden. Remember, during Trump's time as well, there were a lot of policies that were created that actually caused the inflation to be where it is today. This inflation was long brewing. Now I understand though na syempre, pag nakikita mo yung interest rate tumataas and it's making, loans more difficult and, to be able to get money, then the reason is because they're trying to slow down the economy, and it worked. To be honest with you, it was the bitter pill that the United States had to take. If they did not raise the interest rates as they did, the inflation would have just literally become a runaway train. So, pag nagagalit ka doon, isipin mo na lang that those are the bitter pills that everyone had to take so that to be able to rescue the U.S. economy regarding the national debt of the United States. And we're also going to talk later about the national debt of the Philippines. But for the U.S., the problem lang kasi is, remember, it's bicameral, right? So, Bipartisan, excuse me. So immediately kaya napapasayan, both agree to it.
Yeah.
Although sometimes last minute may mga possible government shutdown, but they do agree to it. And so you can't blame it on one or the other particular president. Yun lang yun eh. So the US has a big time bomb ticking right now with that national debt. Even if Trump is in power, that's not gonna really change much.
Actually, it will make it worse if he gives tax breaks to the richest of rich Americans, because the huge taxes will come from the super rich people. And one reason a lot of rich people are supporting Trump is because they want less tax on themselves.
Yun, right.
Let's be brutally
Right.
honest about it. A lot of very rich Americans, including Elon Musk and Thiel and all these people, they don't like regulation. They don't like taxes. So if these people are taxed and all, where is US going to get the money to support all of these different projects they need to support in order to compete with China? So those are the things. So mahabang usapan yan. But anyway, we can go on and on about the US. So I think we have to transition back to the Philippines. All we're saying is that may paki kami sa US kasi yung mangyayari sa US may epekto rin sa atin whether we like it or not. If US sneezes, the rest of us will catch cold. So pay close attention and please don't be overly emotional or uto-uto dito. Parang think about implications sa mga kababayan natin, yung mga gusto mag-migrate, gusto mag-immigrate, gano'n. And also research. Bakit walang immigration policy na napasa? Research niyan. Wag lang maniwala dun sa mga podcast bros or yung mga advertisements and catchphrase motherhood statements. Now, transition back tayo sa Pilipinas, bro. So last week we started last Monday analyzing the Duterte hearing, and I think they not to be super presumptuous, I think it was one of the most comprehensive, multi-dimensional analysis of that hearing. We look at all of the angles. Now, can we look at the fallout, bro? What is your assessment over the coming days since last Monday and days to come, in terms of Quadcom, in terms of public opinion, in terms of reactions? Do you think Duterte came out as a rock star, or Duterte actually was just digging his own grave?
So there are two takes on this, depending on who you support. So syempre, the DDS are spinning the hearing and the testimonies in favor of Digong, especially with some of the pronouncements he made that, hindi nga to personal. There's no personal liability. If a police does a killing, you cannot sue Duterte or make him responsible for it. Mali si Risa Ontiveros. But actually, I'm going to dig deeper into this on another video that I'm preparing right now, that there are a lot of logical fallacies that are being spewed out by Panelo, by Duterte, and by the supporters. And
100%.
mind you, I say that, even if after I say that, I have to say that Duterte is a very smart manipulator. Magaling siya mag-spin ng narratives.
Yeah.
I have to give him that much credit that he can make it sound so good, the sound bites, when he said, for example, human rights ka, ako human lives.
Yeah.
Pero teka lang, when you think about it, you prefer human lives over human rights, yes, but without human rights, how can you have a proper human life?
Yeah.
Diba?
Magaling siya
Human rights is
ikot-ikot. He's a consummate politician. He's very good in manipulating language and all of that, in fairness. Yeah.
And not just that, the double speak is insane. Tapos he did a press con afterwards, di ba? But then he makes it sound like kaya maraming nanood ng Senate hearing dahil kay Duterte. That's how much power he has and hold on the people. But his press con did not do very well.
Did not.
So, and plus, remember, the Senate hearings and the Quadcom are doing well not because of Duterte, but because of the discussion around EJK, the drug
100%.
war, this fake drug war, and everything. Ngayon, if you're supporting naman the Risa Ontiveros, then or BBM, then you'll side with them and say, Risa looked really good. Ako personally, I think that they keep using that logical fallacy of I'm a lawyer, therefore I know what I'm talking about. It's a logical fallacy. It's an appeal to authority. I'm the authority, therefore you're wrong. Hold on. No. That's not how arguments work. Let's punto por punto tayo. Ano ba yung pinag-uusapan natin? Tingnan natin kung sinong tama at mali. And remember, there is a what they call the command responsibility. There is that doctrine of command responsibility, which actually holds the president responsible for all the deaths. And you can't say it's a joke. He is under oath. And remember, his words become policy because of the fact that he's president. And you've seen that if you say jokes are not real, but you see every time he jokes about killing, there are actual numbers that show that, hey, it's being implemented.
100%.
Yun lang yun. Now, Coco Pimentel naman, on the other hand, did a press con as well. My God, Lord, Coco Pimentel looked so bad. I don't know what you thought of Coco Pimentel. I think he was the worst chair. And to begin with, I've never liked Coco Pimentel. I've always thought he was a weak leader. His dad is good. He is not. And this is
He's
the
a poor
problem.
copy of his dad. Yeah, if Sarah
Yes,
is a poor copy
and
of
that-
original poor copy, he's a poor copy of original good copy. Sorry.
Maraming ganon, di ba?
Yeah. Bar
Maraming
top
poor
notcher
copy
ba
ng
yun, ha?
original.
Bar top number 1 pa yata siya sa bar. No, I disagree that it's appeal to authority. What authority? Pasang-awa lawyer lang si Digong. Anong napanalo niyang major case? He's not an authority on legal affairs. He was just like some swashbuckling prosecutor doing mumbo-jumbo in Davao. No offense. That's why I say, talk to Supreme Court justices. Talk to bar in the legal profession. That guy has
Yes.
no serious publication. So, I'm sorry, if mag-appeal to authority ka, make sure hindi ka pasang-awa or some third-rate lawyer bago magyabang against someone like... And that's so yabang, that's so undemocratic. So, you have to be lawyer to know what is wrong, what is human rights violation. I'm sorry, but that's dumb. I mean, not
Yes.
only are they third-rate lawyers, they're also dumb, so anti-democratic and elitist, and not to mention, I mean, by argument, why is their friend, what's his name, si Boy Sile? Why is he the head of the amendment? What's his name?
Are you talking about Marcoleta?
No, Robin Hood Padilla.
Robin Hood Padilla.
Yeah,
Yes, si Boy Casilla.
okay, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, wala mahina. Okay, I'll ask you this, bro. If you are a median voter, meaning a Filipino who is not invested in pro Duterte or pro Marcos, how do you think not only the hearing but the fallout comes to you? Sa tingin mo, paano na-absorb ng isang ordinaryong Pilipino, mamamayan, na hindi masyadong invested sa mga kampo-kampo na yan? Yung, reasonable, ordinary Filipino voter.
You know, I think the problem generally kasi with the general public, the median voter, let's say, is that hindi nila napapakinggan talaga all the details of each of these hearings. So they hear sound bites. That is the
Nuances,
problem
yeah.
with sound bites, is
Yeah.
that it can create a narrative that's not even true. So, but it depends on how you spin it. So for example, may mga tao kasi, may mga narinig ako sinasabi yung mga kakampo ni Duterte at mga trolls na sinasabi na ang problema is Rizza Ontiveros kasi is protecting drug lords while Duterte is protecting the innocent victims. But then again, I challenge that perspective, and yun nga yung sinasabi ko that people, you have to see the nuances of what Duterte is saying. Because when he talks about yung drug addict na nag-rape ng 3-year-old na bata, he said that during the hearing, that's anecdotal. There is no bata that was 3-year-old that actually got raped that he knew of. It was anecdotal. And if you listen to where he got
Actually,
that
fake
anecdote...
news yun eh. Fake news yung iba, yung ginamit ni Mocha Uson nun. It was from like Nicaragua or El Salvador or someplace like that. They even use fake images from other countries to say we have a drug problem.
Yes, exactly. And not only that, when you talk about, I want to say that when he mentioned that anecdotal story, that story about the kid, remember, just a few 30 minutes to an hour ago, they were just talking about the 3-year-old that got shot by the police. And Duterte didn't give a shit about that. So that's what I'm saying. Na depende kung ano yung pinapanigan niya, dun siya kakampi. Sabi niya, dito, ayoko na mamatay ang mga bata, pero dito okay lang. Wala kang komento dyan. That is why you have to be careful with what you listen to. And if you hear the words of Duterte, that's when it betrays him. Because he talks about due process and how he hates due process and how he doesn't believe in the due process of law. Yan yung nagiging problema natin. So, let's be clear, everyone watching. We're not saying na okay ang drugs. Ang sinasabi natin na kahit may problema sa drugs or wala, dapat talaga lang pantay-pantay ang pagpapatupad ng batas. Yun lang yun. Yun ang importante kailangan natin gawin. But that fallout afterwards, I hope that people are not swayed. Kasi even today, I saw on social media, ang daming mga kumakalat ngayon na paninira kay Rizza Ontiveros.
Pero bro, hindi naman organic yan eh. I mean, just very quickly on that, kasi you're raising a lot of important points, no? Unang-una, I think the opposition, actually in the opposition, all the sound people, they're allowing Duterte to dictate the terms of debate. That's already a weakness. You should immediately say, sir, hindi naman kami pro-drugs or criminal activities. Lahat tayo galit sa criminality and drugs. Ang tanong, ano yung tamang paraan? yung paraan nyo parang hindi tama. And more than that,
Yes.
talagang anti-drug ka ba, sir? Baka fake lang yung drug war mo, kunyari ka. Dapat ganun yung
Yun.
response. First, you question the terms of the debate. Well, this is not about pro-criminal or anti-criminal. This is about how you best fight it. Pero pangalawa, talagang anti-drugs ka. Dapat ganun. So, feeling ko mahina yung kabila in terms of doing that eh. So, they allow Duterte to dictate the terms of debate. So, from a debating standpoint, mahina na yung position ng kabila. They have to improve that. But going back to the other issue you raised, ano yung ulit yung issue mo ng isa?
Are you talking about the due process?
No. Where did you end?
So I was just saying that that afterwards, that you're right, they're dictating the
Yung,
narrative.
bro, sorry. Kaya nga, I'm using sugar kasi sabaw na yung utak ko through the day working. I'll ask you, ito, napansin ko talaga, nagsilabasan yung troll farms, bro. I have like,
Yes.
post from 4 months ago, biglang ang dami nagka-comment na 5 followers, 10 followers, lock account. Parang, this doesn't look organic to me. So, it looks like talagang inoopera na lang mga tao eh. Lahat ng mga vloggers, influential people, progressives, ina-attack ngayon ulit. And it looks like may budget ulit. Kaya I wonder, saan galing yung budget? Parang, mala safe housing level.
I remember that Duterte did have a 4.5 billion confidential and intelligence funds every year for the last 3 years of his presidency, or the last 2 years, on top of the 2.25 billion every year. So total of 6 years yan. Ang dami nung tinago niyang budget for a lot of things that we don't really know about. So yes, I believe that they have the budget to be able to have a troll farm. And yes, those are troll farms.
Pogo, no.
Yeah, Pogos din. Yun din. Tama ka dun. Pero sa akin, Richard, even though they are all troll farms and they're all trolls, and if even you look at the comments, some of them are trolls, people unfortunately are still mabilis mas sway by the
effective
mob
sila, in fairness.
mentality.
Yeah, they're effective. I'm not
May
saying that only
bandwagon
troll.
effect pa rin.
It's
Kaya,
orchestrated. It's a manufactured consensus. So it works. Kaya nga dapat may laban talaga tayo. No, I agree with you. I never said na it's just fake people talking to each other. Unfortunately, there's a fake orchestration of the issue, but it works. It still resonates.
Yep. So that's why talaga it's important for everyone watching, na talagang pag may nakikita kang mga ganung balita, counter it. Kagaya si Richard, ikaw tapang mo sumagot eh. Tatawa ko sa'yo, iba oras ka sumagot, wala akong oras. Pero it's good that you do fight back and actually counter some of the points, because kung wala nagka-counter, that's a problem. Now, ito yung problema ng isa. Are you on TikTok? Because doon ang labanan.
Yeah. So what I do, I'm starting na doing more TikTok na in terms of yung mga shorts lang, yung mga 2-3 minutes ganun. TikTok is wild, absolutely. And napansin ko sa TikTok, mas malakas ang DDS camp doon. Wala akong sinasabi dahil sa China yan, hindi ko sinasabi yan. Ako kasi I had to dissociate from TikTok for a while dahil nga sa West Philippines, sinesensor ako eh. I even raised that issue with their CEO dito sa Malaysia, Philippines. I'm not convinced with their answer. But now, bumabalik ulit ako. And in fairness, TikTok is interesting. I mean, I average 100,000 views per short, and you get 5,000 comments on some of stuff. So it's wild. But yeah, it's the new war zone. So I think we have to be careful na hindi tayo complacent lang sa Twitter, YouTube, or Facebook. TikTok is the next frontier. So I absolutely agree. Ikaw, bro, are you getting active on TikTok na?
I am, pero it's hard because the short form is very difficult for me because ang daming mga nuanced talagang conversations that cannot be done in a minute and a half. It's impossible. Pero problem is people love hearing sound bites and that's it. And sometimes I am tempted to just give a sound bite na lang. I mean, kung yun ang labanan, barahin na natin, bigyan na lang natin ng sound bite.
Or
Ganun
teaser.
na lang. So,
mag-teaser ka. Parang mag-teaser ka. Like, give something and then say, if you want to know more about it, check out my ganyan. That's one way to get around it. Para hindi ka, para you're not stooping down to the level of, dumbing down issues effectively.
Right. Yeah. So, tapos I want to add that pag tinignan mo yung marami pang repercussions or backlash na nangyari doon sa Senate hearing beyond the Senate hearing itself, when they found out nga because of Grijaldo, yung ginawa niyang statement niya na pinilit daw siya ni Dan Fernandez at ni Congressman Abante na magsalita. And if you watch that
nakita ko yun.
Davila interview, that was interesting.
Can we break that down? Okay, so let's be systematic. What are the talking points you have seen? Kasi one of the talking points I've seen is, nakita nyo, rockstar pa rin si Tatay Digong, payalat. So that's one talking point. So obviously this is operation, right? Pangalawang oplan, sinasabi na scripted daw yung Quadcom. Meron silang bagong term sa Quadcom, di ba? Parang just to make fun na ito ay scripted din daw, na yung questions daw ay ready na. So, we are beginning to see ano yung script nila eh. May script na sila eh. May script na yung troll farms nila eh. So, can we break those down? Based on from what
Sure.
we saw,
So with
yeah.
regards, so you want to talk about muna yung yung Digong being the rock star, that he killed it, and ang galing daw niya that he slayed that Senate hearing. Honestly, I've already said my piece on this one. The Senate hearing will not amount to anything under Coco Pimentel. Because the video I did, I talked about it, was because they never had a clear objective of what they were trying to find out in the Senate hearing. They basically just said, we are doing the Senate hearing to investigate the war on drugs. That's not a goal. That's a mission statement. That's what you're going to do.
Tick the box.
But what are you trying to find out? Wala. Kaya dahil doon, walang pagtutunguhan to Senate hearing na to. But Chis Escudero did just say today that they are now making the records public, the transcripts public, and if the ICC, including the ICC, if they did request for a certified true copy, they will be provided one.
Then na-forward na daw ni Trillanes eh. Trillanes na-forward na nila. So they don't have... And ICC made a statement that they very closely follow. I mean, literally, they said closely follow yung hearing na yan. So I think there was enough self-incriminating stuff out there. So whatever Kutzpa, Baragadocho, Pogi points Duterte made to his, I don't know, base, I think there was also enough out there to put him into trouble. But speaking of Quadcom and other people who could come in, what is your read in terms of discussions and all? Do you think Quadcom can come in? Do you think they're preparing to come in? I saw Abante Fernandez
that
made a statement.
mistake that Benny Abante did and si Dan Fernandez is that they did speak with Grijaldo outside of the hearing.
Kaya yun yung talking points ng kabila, I see.
Yes. Pero honestly, if you look at Grijaldo naman, they didn't really need to talk to him or anything. Pero they did talk to him because sinabi lang ni Garma, kausapin niyo si Grijaldo, tanong niyo sa kanya kung totoo sinasabi ko. That's all it was. So they were just confirming it. Although if you look at it on a parang
optics pangit yung optics.
Ethical perspective, medyo parang unethical yon. And dun sila tinira ni Karen Davila. And kudos to Karen Davila that at least she's hard-hitting either way. And I think this makes the Quadcom be more careful with their actions moving forward. I don't think they had ill intentions when they did that. I think they slipped. They weren't. They were maybe they got a little bit sloppy. But now they're back on their toes because of what happened, and they're gonna keep going. Now, ang tanong natin dito ay, pupunta ba si Duterte sa Quadcom?
Hindi, pupunta siya if they know how to trash talk Duterte. I think if you trash talk Duterte enough, yung hamunin mo siya, uy, duwag ka, gusto mo lang pag andun si Bato andun si... I mean, I think if they do enough of that, eventually Duterte will show up. So they have to be good in trash talking Digong. That's gangster si Digong eh. So you have to trash talk them. O the Quadcom, ako naman napansin ko, may learning curve sila. Hindi lang Quadcom, generally yung mga nasa kongreso. Kasi naalala mo si Joel Chua, yung first time na nag-chair siya, kinain siya ni Sarah, di ba? Bamboozled siya ni Sarah nung nagbasa siya sa text na, why are you even talking to me like that? I'm just a witness. I'm not your whatever, ganun. But over time, in fairness, si Congressman Joel Chua, I think, improved. Si Dan Fernandez, nung una, pakit-pakit lang kay, Cassandra Ong, yung mga ganyan. And then, so I think there's a learning curve also. And barbers and all have been doing pretty decently, not to mention Abante and, a couple of other, Gutierrez, a couple of other good guys there. So, I think there's a learning curve there. So, because this is unprecedented, right? We never had a situation whereby, you're investigating a former president for mass murder, essentially, right? I mean, this never happened in Philippine history. Corruption, yes. Irregularity, yes. But this is completely next level stuff. So, I'm not giving, too much excuse. I'm not trying to apologize for sloppiness. But I think it's quite understandable considering how the stakes are high. But ako, para sa akin, trash talk niyo si Digong. Aggressive din dapat kayo para si Digong. Talagang sabi, uy, duwag ka lang. Gusto mo lang pag bato lang. Tapos pagtawanan niyo si Bato. Ganun. Dapat ganun eh. Because that's the only way to get Duterte's attention. You're not gonna get his attention with regular rhetoric and formalities and all.
Yeah, and then I wanted to add actually, just going back to the Senate pala, naalala ko lang that it was very disappointing for me that a lot of the other senators decided to just be absent. Di ba? Like, I mean, I understand they're maybe scared for their political careers,
Yeah.
or they just didn't want to have to face Duterte, whatever. They're from sina Sherwin Gatchalian to sina JV Ejercito to ang dami, my Grace Po. There's so many of them that should have showed up that they didn't show up.
JV
And
said
that's
something like,
why-
let's just end it na kasi political yun, di ba? I was slightly not, I mean, to be honest, I was not very impressed. You know, I was like, I'm not
Yeah.
sure I buy that argument, yeah.
Yeah,
so
and-
what if
and-
it's
and you
political?
know what?
It has to be done. Di ba?
And I feel really bad for the victims. Kasi nga, nung pumunta sila doon, man, it's like, you were victimized by these people. Sina Bato, yung mga police, sina Duterte, and now you have to recount your story for them to just slap it in your face and make you look like you're the one lying. That, no, you're wrong on this one. Wow,
De
ako
Lima
na
nga,
yung
din ano,
victim,
di
ah.
ba? If Senator De Lima...
I felt so bad for Delima. I mean, I hope that she's a very strong lady. She'll be fine. Pero I just felt so bad for her. And honestly, I'm sure there was trauma for her seeing Bato there and and it took a lot of guts for her to show up there knowing that Bato and Digong were the ones that persecuted her, and now she's being attacked again. 'Di ba? Tapos si Jinggoy pa. Ayan,
But
maraming
kasi si Chel Joke
kalaban
no
niya,
kasama niya, mabait masyado. Dapat nagdala siya ng mga kabardagulan na kasama, yung magre-react ng...
Yes.
Kasi ang bait nila, Chel, nakaganyan lang sila. Like, no, bro, this is bardagulan.
You know that's one thing that I've always said nga about the senatorial balls, and one thing that I keep talking about. I really think talaga if a lot of these senatorial balls want to win, they need to be more controversial. They need to be more confrontational. They need to be willing to get out there and say what needs to be said, no matter who gets run over by those statements. If they don't do that, they're just gonna be wala silang impact. Nobody's gonna notice them. They're not gonna win with what they're doing now. They need to do something different. Filipinos generally love a strong persona.
Yeah.
Kasi they would rather give that responsibility and accountability of what they say and do to that person eh. Kaya gusto nila yun eh. Kasi ayaw nila sila
They
yun
want a
eh.
champion. Yeah, they want a champion.
They do,
Yeah.
exactly. The archetype, the archetypes that people cling to. That's an archetype they cling to. Because honestly, you know that a lot of Filipinos, unfortunately, I've said this, I tweeted about it, there's a lot of weak men out there. That's why there's a lot of strong leaders that come out that are being championed, like you said. So if these opposition leaders want to make a difference, man, they better come out swinging. Yun.
Yeah, we have a bit stronger. Yun nga, medyo our culture, partly Asian din kasi tayo, medyo diffident tayo. But I hope, with all of the shortcomings of the Senate, with all of yung mga kabalastugan na nakita natin, sana medyo mag-step up lahat, including yung mga opposition leaders. Sila dapat ang, kumbaga, let Lenny be that, like kind of mabait leader and all of that. But I think the rest have to really show a much more, pugnacious, if I can use that term. Hindi naman confrontation, pero pugnacious na palaban kasi yun talagang gusto ng taong bayan. Now, let's go to the last part of our discussion kasi baka sabihin nila, you just attack Trump and you just attack, DDS. Ayan. BBM naman, pag-usapan natin, guys. Baka naman, just in case, baka you forgot, we have a president called Ferdinand Marcos Jr. Kasi I think sometimes people forget he's our president. Balita ko, meron na naman siyang social event, parating ninong sa kasal, buti hindi na siya nag-Formula 1 Grand Prix this year. Sa buhay, medyo relax lang si BBM, no? Nothing crazy, nothing, special.
Alam mo with BBM, my problem talaga with him, is he is sobrang non-confrontational. He is the
Isa pa yan.
epitome of, that not that strong a leader, unfortunately. But the only inadvertent good thing that happened because of his hands-off policy and being non-confrontational is that the government and his secretary, department heads are functioning and being the leaders that he needs. And there's this study that they did on leadership, and this was interesting. If you look at Henry Ford Jr., when he took over Ford, people thought that he was dumb, he's not smart, he's not good enough to be able to lead the company. But why was he able to make Ford successful? Because all of his lieutenants, all of the people under him were so scared that he was going to mess it up
Yeah.
that they have to make sure, guys, double up the work para hindi pumalpak tong si Henry Ford. Kailangan natin galingan. So they were doing it because they didn't want him to screw up. Inadvertently, by doing that, they made Ford so strong, the company. It's the same as what's happening here. With BBM, I'm just enjoying having fun. Bahala na kayo dyan. Then, all the lieutenants are now trying to pick up where, they're not getting enough orders here. They're just gonna do it on their own. Kaya yun ang nangyayari sa Pilipinas ngayon. That's the good and the
Yeah.
bad of it. I
But,
wanna
but,
add
but
this.
what do you
though.
think about him getting the Remulla brothers essentially to run essentially the leash of the state, if I can put it that, like the ILG and DOJ, those are the two pangsampal mo, di ba? Giving it
Yeah,
to Remulla brothers, hindi ba that shows that he wants to outsource it to the kind of a strong men figures, ganon, a big dynasty,
Yep.
big boys dynasty.
Yeah, well, si John Vic, I don't know. I haven't seen much from him, so I don't know if he's strong or not. I liked Abalos. I liked how Abalos dealt with a lot of the problems that we had in the government. Si Remulla naman, Boying Remulla as DOJ is okay, but he hasn't really proven his mettle yet. Remember that all of these POGO things, it wasn't Boying Remulla, DOJ, that really spearheaded it. It was the
Yeah.
PAOK that spearheaded it. Okay?
And then
So,
sumunod na
the
lang sila later
DOJ,
on, yeah.
absolutely, support lang sila. And if you think about it, the DOJ hasn't really done much at this point. The PNP is the one that got Kibuloy. All right? Not the DOJ. So the DOJ is going to just palang follow somebody's lead and just pursue from that point on. So like for example, ito, kasuhan na dapat si Digong. Are they gonna do it or not? I don't think so. Because the DOJ, I don't know why they have their tail between their legs, but I do have suspicions on certain issues and why they haven't been able to act. For example, I just want to add this. Yung issue with Bantag, na hindi pa nila nahuhuli until today. Okay, I want you to think about this. Bantag is what religious sect? INC. Now,
Oh, right.
alalahanin mo, INC, Duterte went to visit the head of INC during their anniversary. Now, INC, their anniversary date is an official holiday. INC has a lot of power with the
Yeah.
government. And it's got the ears of BBM and also of Duterte. And remember, Bantag is an INC. So, there's a problem there. And that's, I think, why.
And he's
hindi pa
also
nahuhuli
PMA.
si Bantag.
He's also PMA.
Oh, yeah.
He's also PMA. That's why he has protection. That's what I've told. Like, people know where he is in Cordilleras, if I'm not mistaken. But PMA graduate siya eh. So, protektado daw eh.
Well, ako naman with regards to the PMA, I think it depends on the batch. I think batches are more loyal to their batch than they are to the overall academy. And that's where you saw naman
I mean,
with
his
the problem
batch
with...
is taking care of him daw. Kasi yung batch niya,
Oh, sure,
medyo
yeah,
senior
siguro,
na eh.
yeah.
He's like what, 50 plus na. So that's a senior group na. Senior na sila ngayon.
Yes. Oo. So, and remember that when Duterte said that he wanted to get somebody from INC to implement the drug war, then people are wondering why INC? Is because Duterte knows INC, police that are with the INC are untouchable. Completely untouchable. And you think Kibuloy with the KOJC and the angel of death na army niya, that's dangerous. There's one with INC that's worse. That police of
So
current
maybe that's
police-
why BBM is, I mean, it's not about being conflict avoidant. It's about, beating your time because you're dealing with some very powerful figures. I mean, I don't want to use the word deep state. That would sound so Trumpish. But do you know what I'm saying? Like, there's so many powerful fraternities, groups,
Yes.
militias. So kung ikaw si BBM na wala kang sariling base na solid beyond solid north, wala kang sariling tao, bumaliktad sa'yo si Vic Rodriguez, kalatan ng dati mong kabinete, yung kapatid mo si Aimee, malay ko ba nasaan na siya ngayon, bumaliktad yung ka-unity mo. Di ba? Medyo, again, I don't want to sound like oversympathetic, but it's lonely to be BBM too eh. Medyo kalaban mo, mga binabangga mo, medyo malalaking grupo eh.
Yeah, that's why it's important for him to have Martin Romualdez there. And
Yeah.
and his wife, these are very strong figures that are
Yeah.
actually
Very smart
they're
people,
actually orchestrating everything around him right now. Kaya nga even with the pronouncement of VP Sara regarding the huhukayin daw yung tatay niya, man, if I was BBM, I'd be pissed.
Oh yeah,
I'm
I
sorry, if that
didn't like
was, you
BBM's
talk about,
response. Yeah, bastos yan. Bastos yung ginawa. Dapat he should have been more
sobrang
forceful.
absolutely. I mean, that's not even my dad. And I don't like Marcos. Pucha, pero somebody said that about my dad.
Yeah.
To hell with you. Habulin talaga kita. You
I'm
know?
telling you, bro, Sarah, if there are more than 5 Ilocanos in an area, she shouldn't step into that area. I'm telling you, people are pissed off. All Ilocanos feel offended, even if you're not pro Marcos Sr. or not. Parang bastusan na to eh. Parang buong solid North ang binastos na eh.
Yeah.
So,
No,
that was
that's the
crazy,
thing
yeah.
about the Dutertes I find, that they're good at trying to push the narrative that they want to talk about.
Yeah.
Tayo naman, parang sheep, o itong pag-usapan, ito sinabi niya, react naman tayong lahat doon. That's why I don't react to all of the things that I hear on social media that's being come out. Like, an example, I just want to give you, like, with the Pulong Duterte saying, follicle test tayong lahat. O follicle test naman si Nograles. And then what? What did you
Si Bato
achieve?
daw, mga nag-follicle test siya.
Nakakapagod lang kasi. Okay, nagawa na nila. O ano, walang nagda-drug. So ano na
Yeah.
ngayon? Let's talk about policies. Does he show up to Congress or not? He doesn't. Has he passed anything? He didn't. What did he do with his 51 billion flood control project? Wala. So, yun ang pag-usapan natin.
Actually, yung
Ibalik
flood
natin ang
control,
usapan.
that's very important kasi nung 6 years ni Digong, that's where billions of dollars were spent on floodgates. So, ang akin lang, if you are DDS and attacking BBM on all of these projects, you have to be careful because a lot of this stuff were built during Digong. He was 6 years in power, for heaven's sake. You think these flood controls were built over 1 year lang or 2 years? No, this is a decade long. Pero you're right, mahina naman yung response. I really don't understand. Like, ang daming butas yung argument ng mga DDS. Ang dami nilang vulnerabilities. But for some reason, hindi pa rin solid. I don't know, maybe now with Chavez, yung bagong PCO secretary, maybe who used to be chief of staff of ISCO. Magaling siya sa communication. So let's see if they can fight back properly. Kasi I just feel they're very good in formal politics, yung dealing with international community, businessman. Magaling si BBM sa ganun yung mga posh diplomacy. Pero itong bardagulan, yung polvoron, yung mga ganyan follicle test, dapat you give no quarters to these people. You fight back. Tara mag-fentanyl test tayo. Dapat ganoon. Tara tara tingnan natin ang floodgate control dyan sa Davao. Yung mga ganoon. Ganon dapat. Hindi, it's not happening. Actually, it's the Dilaw and Pinks who are fighting back better. Right? It's people like us who are pointing out the gaps in the argument. So I just wonder what's going on. Baka naman nagpipiggy right sila sa atin. Parang hindi na natin kailangan lumaban. Diyan naman si Heydarian. Nandyan naman sila, di ba? Ronald Llamas, mga ganun.
Yeah, pero that's exactly what I appreciate naman talaga with the BBM administration din, that now we speak out without fear. Unlike before, there was a veiled threat all around us. It was very difficult to speak out. I thought I was safe, and then people would always tell me, Chris, mag-ingat ka sa mga sinasabi mo. And I'm like, why? I mean, we still live in a democracy, last time I checked. Pero I understood that fear. And ngayon, with BBM, now people are able to speak out. And sa akin, that's one thing good he's doing now. I know people are saying, okay, that grabe, bias naman tong dalawang to. And, we're speaking one way or the other and not being completely neutral. Hey, nobody is neutral. Yun na sabi ko sa inyo ngayon. Sa akin mismo, I'm telling you, I am biased. I have my biases. I'm sure, bro, you have your biases then. And you may not agree with my bias, but you can definitely defend your bias if you want. As much as I'm defending it. with BBM, sa akin ito. May nagbanggit kasi na, na parang si Digong spent, parang Digong, the national budget, national debt went from 6 trillion to 13 trillion. 7 trillion pero may pandemic daw. Si BBM daw, 2 years pa lang, umakit na ng another 4 trillion. Did you hear about this? Somebody's spinning this right now. Lumalabas sa social media. And the problem is, nobody bothered to check. The fact is, the national debt did not go up by 4 trillion in 2 years. It only went up by 2 trillion. Okay? That's 1 trillion a year. I'm not defending BBM. I'm just saying, please, if you're gonna fight the fight, please be factual. Huwag fake news. Yun lang sa akin. Kasi si Digong, dumaki yung nagdoble, lampas doble yung ating national debt sa panahon niya. And hindi niya ginamit yung pera for the pandemic. When he borrowed 5 trillion during the pandemic, he only used 500 billion for pandemic aid. Where did the rest of the
Hindi, but that's my point, bro.
4.5?
Diyan dapat mas aggressive ang BBM team to say actually a lot of debt increase is the interest rates we're paying for what was borrowed before, including ang laki ng inutang ni Digong nung panahon na yun.
Ang laki talaga.
I saw a lot of people making issue about this new $500 million for, I don't know, for healthcare system, whatever. Yeah. But they have to say, saan nagkaroon ng Farmali? Saan nagkaroon ng mga scandal after scandal inside Department of Health? It was panahon ni Digong. So I just wonder why they're not doing that. They're not more aggressively. Hukayan talaga yan, di ba? Like, bago ka magsalita sa akin, tignan muna natin ginawa mo nung 6 years na sa poder ka, di ba? Tapos anak mo pa, may 2 years pa dito, di tignan natin. So I just feel, ang daming pwedeng atake. So you're allowing the Duterte camp to still dictate the terms of the debate, where I think, dapat, in reality, it should have been much more patas. But having said that, bro, there are certain serious issues. The PhilHealth issue.
Yeah.
I'm glad Supreme Court eventually came in. We had Justice Carpio on my show the other week to discuss that. My TRO na finally. And then you had Chelo Magno, a couple of people looking at the budget. Nakita ko, I saw a weird thing na parang Ann Curtis, I don't know if that's true, Ann Curtis saying something political based on, hindi ko alam, Pinoy Tapsilog or some DDS guy who said something based on Chelo Magno. Parang, wait lang, that's quite a realignment. Like a celebrity commenting on a DDS using a yellow critic of BBM. Like, whoa, where is this going? You know what I'm saying? Like, dapat ingat din yung opposition, ha? Like, attack BBM all you want. Wala akong problema. But always put it in the context. BBM is doing this, but we had it even worse during Digong. Dapat ganun yung argument. Kung talaga ganun yung argument. And for me, ganun yung argument on many issues. From DepEd to DOH, I can raise about a lot of kapalpakan ng panahon ni Digong. So, that's where that reference point is very, very
Yes.
important. Very important reference point.
Yeah, you know, that's why nga, for me, kahit nasabihin natin I do have my issues with BBM, by the way. So, like,
100%.
pero pag may issue kay BBM, ito lang, for example, you talk about flood control nga. Listen, that flood control issue nga was during the time of Duterte pa rin. And at the
Yeah.
end of the day, for me, both of them have screwed it up. As a matter of fact, all presidents have screwed up this flood control issue. Because ang laki talaga ng budget ng DPWH for flood control ever since. And nobody ever bothered scrutinizing this budget to find out bakit nga ba grabe pa rin yung pagbabaha natin dito sa buong Pilipinas. Ang laki-laki na nilalagay nating budget na binibigay sa DPWH for flood control. So it's not an administration issue, but the administration that is going to fix it is the administration that I will actually give credit to.
Yeah.
Because right now, wala pang administration na gumagawa nun. So magbatuhan kayong dalawa ng BBM and Duterte na ikaw may kasalanan, ikaw may kasalanan. Lahat kayo may kasalanan. Yun ang sa akin yan with the flood control issue. Okay?
Yeah, that's why we need
yung
people
isang
like-
issue naman when it comes to sinasabi na
No, that's what
Like
I'm saying.
who?
We need people like Heidi Mendoza types in Senate. Tama yung sinasabi ng followers na you need people who are auditors, who know how to check this. Because you're not gonna expect BBM, to be really 100% into auditing and all of that. So you need really pros, progressives who are good in auditing, who work for COA, to really flag and expose itong mga anomalies, mga kung sino-sino contractor na kumita dyan sa floodgate projects na yan.
Yep, I agree with you that. And by the way, ito pa. So the other issue that we have right now is not just the flood control that they're trying to throw at BBM to say na, oh, ikaw may kasalanan nito. I mean, let's face it, the flood control problem in Davao is a big problem. And that's because of the Duterte administration and local administration that's been in power in Davao since 1986. And yet, may problema kayo sa flooding, tapos binibintang nyo si BBM. Medyo ang labo lang nun. Kasi hanggang ngayon, mga Duterte pa rin ang namumuno sa Davao, yet binibintang nyo si BBM sa flood control. Even VP Sara was weird to say na si BBM may kasalanan kaya may flood tayo sa Davao. Sandali lang, kuya mo, ang kapatid mo, ang mayor nun ah. At yung isa naman yung governor, tapos sinasabi mo may problema yung national government. Tapos hindi sila binintang pa niya yung national government na hindi daw marunong mag-manage. Wait a minute, kapatid mo yung mayor? What are you talking about? So, yun yung tama ka doon when you say that they are dictating the narrative. And BBM needs to have his own troll army to make sure to to, throw that narrative out there, the right narrative. And that's what I think he's not doing enough of. Yun ang nakikita ko. And
Yun nga it's a persistent
but if I
problem.
were to be critical, Richard, you don't have your mic on, by the way. I don't know if that was intentional
No,
or not.
it's okay, sir. I just have to release it to mine. Don't worry. It has
Okay, so I'm gonna add this, if I were to criticize lang, because I do have my criticisms of BBM, ito lang din para sa akin. Yung PhilHealth na yan is a big issue with me. Kasi nga, itong si Ralph Recto, na I actually don't think he's a bad guy,
Yeah.
but I do think what he did was not ethical. Kasi nga, even though that budget did not come from member contributions, that did come from the national budget. Once you put it in PhilHealth, you keep it in PhilHealth. Ganun lang ka-basic. Unless gusto nyo palitan yung batas, then until magawa yun, please follow the rules. Do not circumvent the rules. Yun ang sa akin, number one. Number two, problemado na nga tayo with PhilHealth. Alam mo ba, how many of our
Yeah.
kababayans can't even afford proper medical care? Napupunta pa sila maghihingi, manlilimo sa ating mga kongresista o sa
ganun,
ating mga
yeah.
governors
Yeah.
para makakuha ng para makakuha ng tulong sa kanilang proper healthcare na, in my opinion, that should be a right to
Human
every
right yan.
Filipino.
Yeah, it should be a human right. It should be a human right. Speaking of human rights,
Di ba?
access to good healthcare should be a human
So,
right. Yeah.
Nasanay kasi tayo mga Pilipino na nanghihingi, makakatok sa congressman natin, sa governor natin. Alam po nyo, abangan nyo ang panahon na hindi na kayo kailangan kumatok sa pinto ng kongresista para humingi ng tulong sa mga usapang pangkalusugan. Kasi ang mangyayari dito, if we get the right government in place, punta ka na ng ospital and it's all paid for. Punta kang emergency room, you're not rejected. Hindi nila sabihin, may pambayad ka ba? Wala, I will take care of you dahil the government has money for this because we do have the money. PhilHealth alone, my God, tignan mo yung
We
reserve
have the
fund
money,
nila.
bro.
Ang
Kasi,
laki.
you know how I can say that? Because Vietnam and Indonesia were able to have universal healthcare when they had lower per capita than us today. Our per capita now is almost $5,000. Indonesia built it when there were only $3,000. So, there's no way at our level of development we shouldn't have a proper healthcare. Because I know countries poorer than us, or when they were poorer, they already established it. So something is wrong here. Hindi kulang ng pera, pare.
Yeah, I agree. So this BS na, that's why I hated Duterte during the time of his administration. He kept repeating the line na wala na tayong pera, just to justify him borrowing money. We had the money. And what did he do with that money? He borrowed a lot of BS money and gave it to all his cronies. Yan yung ginawa niya. Instead of pumunta sa mga tao na nangangailangan nun, he gave it to all his cronies and we are all paying for it. Kaya nagkaroon tayo ng mataas na inflation dito sa Pilipinas. Okay, dahil po kay Duterte. Alalahanin nyo, in 2018, 2019, compared mo to today, prices have gone more than double. Okay?
Pero bro, ang sasabihin kasi nila is, nagkaroon ng pandemic and all. But I'll say this again. Yes, nagkaroon ng pandemic, but why did we do worse than all our neighbors? Vietnam even had economic growth during pandemic. We had 5 quarters of recession. What in the concept of worst don't they understand? Now, why did we do poorer than all our Southeast Asian neighbors? We had 9.6% GDP contraction. Ganon kapalpak si Digong. So, yung excuse nila na pandemic, yeah, sure. We didn't expect 10% growth. Pero why almost 10% contraction? Yun ang hindi nila ma-explain kasi palpak talaga sila. But then again, why are BBM people not using that? Because that's a fact. They can use yun. Diyan ako nahinaan sa kanila, parang literally mahina sila in that sense. You know what I'm saying? Like, why there's so much content there to use against the other side. I don't know what's going on here.
Pero alam mo, my God, kaya natatawang ako when I hear some of the people that bash me, they say to me, bayaran ka lang. How I wish bayaran nga talaga ako, or ikaw, di ba? Let's give them good political advice. Because sometimes I wonder
Kasi
how
libre
they do
tayo
these political
nag-advise
moves.
Libre.
Yeah.
Kami ni Roland, parati libre lang sa amin. Wala appointment, wala. Talagang para sa bayan lang ginagawa namin.
Pero ito pa isa. One big B5 with BBM administration, the Maharlika Fund. Alam mo talaga, I really hated the fact that they steamrolled that into to actually enact it. And even until now, where are they investing the money? They don't know where to invest the money. They don't even know how to put it together. And
Kasi nga bro,
the
nagkaroon
head,
ng pushback. Hindi bro. Kung hindi nag-ingay ng tao, hindi tayo nag-criticize, Ay nako, may Mambo Jumbo Marlica Fund na yan, yung parang 1MDB style. So actually, the reason na naging zombie yung Marlica Fund is dahil ang dami nag-ingay. So natakot sila.
Ah,
So you know what I'm saying? It's like an
okay.
expensive car that was bought under dodgy circumstances or something, and then sa dami nagsalta, di na ginamit, nakatenga lang sa parking. Doesn't make it okay, but it just shows that it's that nakikinig or natatakot sila sa public opinion. Otherwise, that Ferrari would have been 10 Ferraris by now. I'm just telling you.
Right.
So actually, that's the lesson. Remember, the first version, PBM was supposed to lead the Maharlika Fund. And then they keep
Yep.
on editing and editing and editing. Look at all the Stella Kimbo versions. Because nagingay tayo, kaya sabi ko sa mga kababayan natin, even if matalo yung kandidato niya sa election, okay lang yan. Lumaban naman kayo after election. Kasi kung organize ka naman kayo sa elections, matatakot din mga politiko na yan. Unless ang pangalan nila ay Rodrigo Duterte. That's the difference with Digong. Wala siyang pake. He will just do his own thing. He doesn't follow the constitutional order. That's where BBM is less of a threat because he still works within the constitutional parameters that overthrow his father, right? So kaya nga sabi nung
Right.
friend ko si Leloy Claudio, it's worked in one sense that even a Marcos is scared to overthrow that constitutional order. With one exception, Digong. He's the only one who didn't give a heck to the constitutional order. He just did his own thing. So imagine if one more Duterte were the president now, tapos na usapan, wala na. Wala na. So,
Yeah.
BBM, ironically, kind of saved that, yes, corrupt, problematic, but nevertheless, constitutional democratic order.
But also, I think that kasi with BBM, again, I'll give praise for praises do siguro lang in this case na meron pa siyang hiya. At like you said, may takot siya. May takot siya sa tao. And I'm going to make this statement, Richard, that
Please,
a lot
bro.
of people kasi think that the powerful are actually the leaders. Yung ating mga pinuno ang may kapangyarihan. Alalahanin niyo kung saan ang mga taong makapangyarihan, saan nila nakukuha yung kanilang tunay na kapangyarihan.
Right.
Sa mga masses, sa mga tulad natin,
Yeah.
sa mga Pilipino, sa karamihan, sa collective. Yun, nila nakukuha yung kanilang kapangyarihan. That's why malakas si Kibuloy. Is because pinagmamalaki niya meron siyang 8 million followers na lumalabas ngayon, 8,000 lang pala. Pero nung akala ng tao marami yun, may kapangyarihan si Kibuloy. Pero nung na-realize ng PNP na 8,000 lang yan, wala yan, kaya nila. Kaya ang INC
Yeah.
malakas kasi pinagmamalaki nila meron silang mga milyong-milyong followers na kaya, they're basically kingmakers at any point. So, yun yung kapangyarihan ano pangalan na si Felix Manalo ba yun? Whoever the head of INC is, because of the people, the collective. Ito mas sabi ko, you want power, you get that power back from kung sino yung mga sinusuportahan niya. You let them know kung ano yung ayaw nyo at anong gusto nyo. Makikinig yan mga yan sa kolektibo. Pero kung wala nun, then at least we all have to form our collectives. The problem is people like Risa Hontiveros, for example, ayaw nila magkaroon na itong parang blind loyalty na sumusunod lang sa kanila. Yun ang problem. But it's a double-edged.
Yeah.
Because she doesn't want or thrive or need that validation and that loyalty from her followers. She can't use that same power to be able to push her forward. Pero that's what makes her a good leader.
But yun nga eh, that was, for me, that was the biggest critic of Obama. Because remember how Obama excited so many people when he ran for office? And then once he was in office, hindi niya na-mobilize yung base niya. Now, his explanation was, ayoko maging race war yan. Because if I
Yes.
mobilize an African-American progressive base, you're gonna trigger a civil war situation. But by not doing that, he gave the opportunity to Trump to create his MAGA movement, which built on Sarah
Yes.
Palin and Tea Party. So, kaya nga sabi ko, once you enter politics, yun na yun. Talagang, if you don't do it, someone else will do it and worse than you. Or for the wrong reason. Kaya nga, tama ka eh.
No, but please, sige. But what I'm saying lang, Richard, kasi is this Obama didn't mobilize them for the right reasons because nga, the autocrats, the authoritarians will want to divide. And hey, eto tayo, magkakasama tayo. Itong mga kalaban, that's the tactic of authoritarians. Right? And the true democratic leaders do not want that. They're trying to be more unifying nga eh. They're trying to be more inclusive. They want everyone to be on board. That's why they don't want this blind loyalty. Where authoritarians demand blind loyalty. Because that's where they get the power from the blind loyalty of the people. Yung mga Marcos forever or mga DDS pa rin kami, parang ganun, blind loyalty. That's where they
But
get
bro,
the
there should
power.
be a midpoint. So historically, many people say the right example there should be someone like Roosevelt, right? So if you look at the New Deal in the U.S., which completely revolutionized the American system, before that, U.S. was more like Philippines. Walang kwenta yung Estado, oligarchs, all that, essentially what the whole Gilded Age, oligarchs, robber barons, in charge. What Roosevelt did was he mobilized people, labor unions, among other things. So unfortunately, bro, inevitable that you have to have warm bodies on the streets to keep the bad people honest. Now, obviously, there's always a risk that you go into this demagogic, I don't know, Venezuela thing. But if you don't do it, limited yung power mo, bro. Kasi yung masasamang oligarchs, they're gonna use courts, they're gonna corrupt judges, they're gonna corrupt legislators, they're gonna corrupt media. So, it's very tricky. I completely understand where you're coming from because you don't want Hugo Chavez situation to happen. But I think Roosevelt, among other leaders, I can talk about Swedish models, I can talk about German models, you need pa rin to mobilize And mobilize these people not because ikaw yung Führer nila, mobilize people because you have a shared movement towards a certain goal. Do you get what I'm saying? So it's not about Riza trolls coming out. It's about people who believe in what Riza represents coming out. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yes.
I heard a lot of criticism about kakamping and all na, eto mga to ay Lenny, fanatic, ganun. Well, there are always gonna be some minority crazy people in any camp, unfortunately. And, I've been trolled by all sides for that reason. But the vast majority, almost 99% of kakampings, are there because of what Lenny represents. Hindi naman yung kulto-kulto na ganyan. So, I think Riza can do even a more depersonalized and more issue-based version of that. Because if you don't do that, kakainin ka ng kabila eh. That's really how politics works. Okay, if you don't know how to create movements, you're not gonna create long-lasting change, brother. That's really what politics is all about. If you want real change, you have to create movements. And movements that are not treating you like a demigod, but movements that just treat you as a temporary vehicle for social mobilization and change. And then even if wala ka na sa eksena, tuloy-tuloy pa rin yung laban. Yun yung kilusan talaga kailangan, pare, kilusan Hindi kulto, kilusan. Yun yung pagkakaiba ng kilusan at kulto. Sa kulto, it's only about one person, Führer, Trump, whatever. But sa kilusan, it's about issues. And then it happens now, it's Riza, tomorrow is Chel, I don't know, tomorrow is another one. So yun yung medyo kulang sa atin, pare, yung kilusan yung konsepto ng kilusan, yung paniniwala natin sa kilusan. At kung malakas ang kilusan mo, may laban ka talaga. Kayang-kaya mo lumaban, hindi mo kailangan pera kasi may volunteers ka na. You have essentially a free troll army who will troll for the good reason. Yun ang kailangan natin. Kaya sabi ko yung maliliit na ginagawa natin vlogs dito. Sa akin palagay kasama ito sa kilusan Hindi pa nabubuo itong kilusan na yan, pero papunta tayo dyan. Naniwala ako na may malaking oportunidad natin na magkaroon ng isang kilusan na base sa critical thinking, patriotism, pagmamahal sa bayan, at hindi lang blind partisanship. And that's why I appreciate this conversation and collaboration with you, bro.
Well, how about this? I think that when you talk about basing your politics on principles over personalities, that's what the party list is doing, isn't it? What do you think?
Yes, but that's why you have a party list na fake, na trapo, and then you have a real party
yun
list.
lang.
You have a real party list like Akbayan, right? So if you look at Akbayan, where Risa comes from, that's isang kilusan yan. Naniniwala kay Risa, pero hindi lang kay Risa lang. Nagbi-build na sila ng next generation leader, si Paeng, among others, di ba? So dapat makakilus. Ako naman, dahil medyo tropical country tayo, hindi mawawala yung medyo emotionality. I know it's gonna sound orientalizing, but ako, base sa pag-intindi ko, we're kind of a Latin Asian culture. So, hindi pwede walang personality politics at all. It's more like, parang DJ yan, di ba? Itaas mo ng konti ito, ibaba mo ng konti ganun, yung bass, yung ganun. So, itaas mo yung ideology, ibaba mo ng konti ng personality politics. Tapos makuha mo yung tamang timpla, yun na yun. Hindi pwede zero-sum. Ang problema kasi nung iba, purong ganyan lang Purong personality, halos walang ideological coherence. But I'll tell you what, I think Duterte had some ideological element. Not coherence, but element. There was something, some would say, proto-fascist almost about him. This kind of violence and action is the solution to all problems. Wala na akong pake sa due process rules. That's a kind of an ideology. It's a very problematic, deadly, but it's an ideology. So,
Yes.
hindi personality cult lang si Digong, yung Dutertismo, yung tinatawag na Dutertismo. So, I think dapat may pangtapat ka kung saan mixture siya ng ideology, but also personal inspiration. So, I think Lenny shows us that mahalaga pa rin yung personality. Naiwala ka doon sa tao. There has to be a face to the issue. There has to be a face doon sa kilusan. But hindi lang pwede purong face lang at pa-cute lang at walang nangyayari. Hindi rin pwede gano'n. So it's getting that alchemy right. I think yun yung challenge. But that's what we have to focus on.
Yeah. And right now naman, I think that it's starting to happen, that people are starting to be more focused on issues. I believe that now that people, nagising na yung mga tao, nabuklat na yung mga mata natin, nakikita na nga natin na, uy, tama, dami nga mga impormasyon ngayon, maraming fake news at kailangan tayo mag-isip-isip na. Kaya nga ngayon yung mga tao may pushback na sa mga nakikita nila online. As a matter of fact, kaya nga nahihirapan yung mga trolls ngayon eh. Dahil my God, stressful ang buhay nila. Kasi pag nagpo-post sila, kahit gumawa sila ng fake na engagement supporting their view, maraming pushback talaga ngayon from real people, real Filipinos that are saying, hoy, mali ka dyan, anong pinagsasabi mo? Bobo ka talaga, mga ganun. Yung mga ganun bardagulan, importante yun.
Right.
Mapapakita mo na ito troll, pakita mo na naman yung isang troll na to, ganun. And honestly, right now, pag makita mo, parang we're going back to our sensibilities and our decency. I'll tell you, a really interesting metric for this in the coming elections in 2025. If Digong loses to Carlo Nograles in Davao, then you know, wala na ang mga Duterte. Goodbye na yan in 2028. Wala na yan. Kung matalo si Digong. Will he lose or not? I don't know. But I am seeing a lot of support for Nograles. Maybe I'm in an echo chamber. I don't know. But even the people that are on commenting on my video about Nograles and Duterte, I would challenge them. Sabi sa akin, biased daw ako that I only said the bad parts about Duterte. Sabi ko, well, how about you tell me the good parts? Para I learn.
Sa'yo mo iyakin lang kayo. Last part I want to discuss. Actually, I did not manage to mention it kanina. Dapat sa second part of discussion natin. But let me also add na one of the things that came out dun sa mga vlogs and discussion natin last week is actually, mahirap i-impeach si Sara because based on what we saw in the Senate, we might not get the 16 or 2/3 majority. But interestingly, panahon pa lang ni Digong, sinabi ni Menardo Guevara, back then the Solicitor General, back then Justice Secretary, now, sabi niya, Vice Presidents don't have absolute immunity. So, even if Sara doesn't get impeached, if she's found culpable of certain, high crimes or abuses, that could disqualify her from running in 2028. And for me, that's just as bad as impeachment. In a sense that she's just gonna be an empty shell until 2028, and if she cannot run, wala, tapos na sila kasi sinong tatakbong presidente? Baste. He cannot even run for mayor right now. Pulong, Digong, seriously? 2028? So, actually vulnerable sila. I mean, everyone talks about impeachment. And speaking of impeachment, I think sa kakasalita namin ng impeachment, si Sara nag-respond dati. So, there were times we dictated the terms. But actually, I was thinking about it. Sara could be deprived from, she could be disqualified from running if she were to be found culpable of violating serious, including graft or whatever. So, hindi pa, so, I'm just saying, people are looking at it as, it's a numbers game, paano sa Senado. Well, actually, she could be disqualified. So, she could still stay, not be impeached, but she could be disqualified. And that's a legal process, not a political process like impeachment. So, I'm just saying, marami pa rin weapons si BBM eh. So, for all we know, bro, maybe he's the Machiavelli. Maybe we are the hot-blooded, bros, podcast bros. Maybe he's really thinking of something big later on. So, I don't know. Be open to surprises, brother. Thank you so much. That was fantastic.
Yeah, what's so far so good naman talaga with what BBM's doing. And one thing that I like with his strategy, whether it's intended or not, is he doesn't say his next move. Lahat to, he keeps his cards close to his chest. Magaling yun. Ngayon, I don't know if it's intentional or inadvertent. I don't know. Pero magaling. At saka magagaling nga yung mga generals niya, yung mga nakapaligid sa kanya. Yun ang mga nagpapatakbo na to. They're very good. Ngayon.
Kaya sabi ko, kuting, even if he's kuting, may mga tigre sa paligid niya.
Yeah. Oo, no? Kahit yung anak niya, so tapang pa kayo sa kanya di ba?
Definitely. That was great, brother. That was great. I really enjoyed it as always. I can see a lot of people enjoying this discussion. Let's do this. Hopefully every week, either end of the week or beginning of the week, let's have a discussion like this to set the para we set the agenda. Kakabala mukha natin. Let's manipulate mga ganun. Yeah, joke lang. Gawa lang ng troll farm yan. All right, bro. Thank you so much. That was great. I think we covered a lot. And I think there's even more to discuss in the coming weeks and months. And especially as we get closer to elections, more than happy to get your point of view on the ground. Paano ang anong feeling na tumatakbong counselor dyan sa sa Mandaluyong. Pero bro, pakisabi kay Abalos, palitan niya yung yung kalaban at kalaban kriminal.
Yes, oo nga eh.
Ang liit ng
Ay,
ang
actually-
mga kalaban kriminal, yun lang makita mo. Abalos, hindi yung ang mga like,
Andun pa ba yung poster na yun? I think I took it down na.
that
I
was like
didn't
the
see any-
worst stuff I've seen. Di, meron pa rin dun sa digital. Di ba may digital sa EDSA? Lumalabas pa rin. Kalaban!
I'm gonna-
Kriminal, Abalos. Like, nasan yung ang mga, like, ang lead kasi nung fan. Grabe naman nangyari.
I'm definitely gonna check on that to find out.
That was like the blooper of the month, pare. On that note, thank you so much, Chris Tan, for this fantastic conversation. Please don't forget to follow Chris Tan on his different channels and all. Coach Chris Tan, and continue to also follow us and support us here. Bro, is there anything you want to share before we wrap up this week's opening statement podcast?
No, that's it. I'm just excited to hear from everyone. I love reading the comments, good and bad. I read all. Richard, ikaw yung nagre-reply sa mga yun. Congratulations to you. And yeah, let's continue this. And everyone, please keep an open mind lagi. Even if we don't agree, it's okay. It's good to have these discussions. And I always
100%.
love pushback. All right? And
100%.
that's it for me. So thanks everyone for watching tonight.
Yeah, thank you, brother. I mean, I don't know if correct me wrong. I saw almost 100% positive comments, or at least not any troll comments at all. So maybe we're doing something right after all. Maybe.
Yeah, I hope so.
Thank you. God bless, bro. Talk
All
to
right.
you soon.
Take care. All right. Good night,
Bye-bye.
everyone. Okay.
That's it. Booyakasha. Salamat, guys, for listening to another great episode with my bro, Kristan. I always enjoy talking to this guy. He's cool, he's chill. And see, kahit minsan may mga disagreements kami kasi ako medyo, go Kamala na ako bigla ngayon kasi baka mabash tayo. No? Just kidding. Okay naman, game naman siya. Walang. Dapat ganon, chill lang tayo. So, mabuhay po kayo guys and continue to support us. Tomorrow naman, God willing, balik na naman tayo with RRM. As you could hear kanina dun sa episode natin sa Storycon, mukhang okay na si Sir Ronald. Sa sobrang okay niya, tinawag niya akong kabilang channel. At sa sobrang okay niya, inaaway niya ako, inaway ko rin siya kanina sa TV. So tuloy-tuloy lang natin yan. Maraming salamat. God bless. Mabuhay po kayo and talk to you soon. And please continue to support lahat ng mga collaborators natin. Kristan, Mark, Ronald. Well, si Ronald wala pang channel, but support them in every way you can. And thank you for your prayers for Ronald. It looks like he's feeling better. Halos wala siyang cough kanina. So I feel good. I feel good about him. Salamat po. And thank you also sa mga nagbigay ng stickers and so. Ay, wala pala. O baka naman. Continue natin itong conversation na to. Good night. God bless and talk to you soon. Ba't mukha akong